Hello, my name's David Seaman, and this is the Three Lions Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions Podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is your independent England football supporters podcast. I hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the recent episode, the one where I spoke with Stuart Franklin about his memories of the summer's Euros. It's in fresh in your memory up there. It is still available at your podcast provider of choice, as are many of the previous episodes. Go check them out. Plenty there for you to digest. Now, coming up on this episode, we once again look towards our upcoming Nations League matches. We're on to match day 3 and 4. Thursday the 10th of October, we host Greece at Wembley. And then on the 13th of October, we travel to Helsinki to play Finland. That's at the Helsinki Olympic Stadium. Before we take a look at that, Lee Carsley announced his second squad on Thursday the 3rd of October. Now you may remember I did say that I'd be more inclined to judge him on his second and third squads, more so than his first. And I have to be honest, having looked through the squad, I'm liking the look of this second one. I'm liking the sound of what he's saying. His press conference was positive. He explained his situations, explained to the players that he's left out, why he's done it. Although it has to be said, there didn't seem many questions directed to him. So I'm wondering, there's not too much pressure at the moment from the journalists out there. It's just the usual, what are your thoughts on the long term of the job? Do you want it? Where do you see yourself in X amount of weeks' time, months' time? But he kind of just batted them away. Although on his squad, he said that there won't be a copy and paste. Well, let me quote it for you. He said, I thought it was important that this is not just a copy and paste. I want them to feel like they have earned their place in the squad. Yes, he's selecting these players on merit, which is encouraging to hear. Now, last time around, he selected 26 players. Although Phil Foden, Cole Palmer and Ollie Watkins all withdrew. Now this time, he has selected 25 players. Now, at the time of recording, they're all still there. So let's run through them. Who have we got here in goal? Well, we've got 3 goalkeepers. Dean Henderson, Jordan Pickford and Nick Pope. Defenders, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Levi Colwill, Mark Yeh, Ezri Konsa, Rico Lewis, John Stones, Kyle Walker. Let's move on to midfield. Jude Bellingham returns, Phil Foden, Conor Gallagher, Morgan Gibbs-White, Angel Gomez, Kobe Mainoo, Cole Palmer and Declan Rice. And then up front, 7 players. Anthony Gordon, Jack Grealish, Harry Kane, Noni Madueke, Bukayo Saka, Dominic Solanke and Ollie Watkins. Squad with 695 caps across it, 109 goals. It's a squad with an average age of 25.3. The oldest player is Kyle Walker, aged 34. The youngest, Kobe Mainoo, he's just 19. Of course, our most capped and highest goal scorer is, of course, Captain Harry Kane. 100 caps. He earned that in the last game against Finland, where he picked up his golden cap, didn't he? With his daughters alongside him. 68 goals to his name as it stands at the moment. Will be interesting to see if he can hit that 70 mark. As we like to do, just digest where those players have come from. 5 of them from Manchester City, 3 from Chelsea, 2 from Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Aston Villa and Arsenal, and 1 each from Everton, Liverpool. Both Madrid sides, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid. I wonder if that's happened before. Forest, Lille, Man United, Bayern Munich, and of course Tottenham. So a nice spread across there. And I mentioned Tottenham, so let's start there. I don't want to say it's a surprise, but I guess Dominic Solanke is the major news. He's in the squad and he'll get the opportunity to add to his one cap earned back in 2017 against Brazil. Imagine if that was just your one cap against Brazil. That was whilst he was at Liverpool. Obviously, he's now at Tottenham. Time of being selected, 3 goals in 3 games. So that's clearly why he's caught Carsley's eye. But he had 5 great years at Bournemouth too, didn't he? So, yeah, fair play to Dominic Solanke. He's earned that opportunity. We shall see whether he gets a start or whether he'll come on as a substitute in either of these 2 games. I would suspect we will see him add to that cap. Kyle Walker returns. He wasn't in the last squad because you may remember he hadn't kicked a ball in anger for Manchester City by the time that squad came out. Jude Bellingham returns. He wasn't available last time around through injury. And providing they don't drop out, it will be interesting to see who is used where. That number 10 position could be filled by a variety of players. Foden, Palmer, Bellingham. Although in this instance, we may see Jude dropping back a little more, much like he's been at Madrid so far this season. But Cole Palmer, he's the one on fire at the moment, isn't he? 4 goals recently against Brighton in the Premier League game. But who's missing? Aston Villa midfielder Morgan Rogers could count himself unfortunate not to get a call-up. Been doing well for Villa. Manchester United's Harry Maguire. He was selected in the first squad. Hasn't been selected in this one. Scored, didn't he? In Europe against Porto in the last minute. That was a strange substitution, wasn't it? Paid off, though. Paid off. Tottenham playmaker James Maddison. Crystal Palace winger Eberici Eze isn't selected. West Ham's Jared Bowen. From the first squad, there were 4 uncapped players. One of them didn't end up getting a cap, Tino Livramento of Newcastle, and he hasn't made it into this squad either. So I think this second squad, as I said, it's interesting to see how Lee Carsley is moving along with it. Few subtle changes here and there. He's taking a look at a few different players, just trying to find his best squad, his best 11. And I'm still interested and intrigued to see what the next squad, the third squad, should he get the opportunity, will be like. Now, before we move on to specifically talk about Greece and Finland, let's just refresh ourselves with how the group stands at the moment. We are in League B Group 2. Greece, they are top by virtue of goals scored. 2 wins out of 2, 6 points, plus 5 goal difference. We are second, again, on 6 points, but scored a goal less. Ireland are third, Finland are fourth, both on 0 points. Of course, last month we played 2 games, Ireland away, Finland at home, winning both 2-0. Greece, as I say, they're top as they beat Finland 3-0 and Ireland 2-0. So the Wembley fixture, we hope, should divide the 2 sides. On the same evening as we play Greece, Finland host the Republic of Ireland, and then when we travel to Helsinki, Greece entertain Ireland. So still a whole load of permutations to happen come the end of this break. Now, at the time of recording this, there were no injury withdrawals, but there were concerns over Villa's Ezri Konsa and Nottingham Forest's Morgan Gibbs-White. Now, they both played on Sunday just gone. Both were subbed off. Konsa, after 12 minutes against Manchester United, with a suspected hamstring injury. And Gibbs White went off later on in his game, just in pain, really. So by the time this comes out, you'll probably know who's in and who's out. So, Greece, Thursday the 10th. We've got a history against Greece, which isn't that big, to be fair. Played 9, won 7, drawn 2. Given all the European qualifiers and World Cup qualifiers we've had over the years, you maybe think, well, we would have met on more occasions than that. But that said, our first 4 meetings were actually Euro qualifiers, first home and away in 71 and 72, then in 82 and 83 for Euro 1984. Neither side qualified for that. We had friendlies at Wembley under Terry Venables and at Old Trafford under Steve McLaren. But probably the most recognised game is the draw under Sven-Göran Eriksson, again at Old Trafford. Greece, the better team on the day. It has to be said. But David Beckham saved the day with his last-minute free kick in front of the Stretford end to send us to the 2002 World Cup. Actually, it's in doing some research for something slightly different. It's not the first last-minute goal we've ever scored against the Greeks. Our first ever meeting saw Martin Chivers do the same. But as I say, that's something I'm working on for a future episode. I'm delighted to welcome to the show Greek football experts, and from the Hellas Footy Podcast, Stephen Kountourou. Hello there.
Hello, mate. Thank you so much for having me on, and very nice. It's very, very nice pronunciation of my name. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I was sort of crossing my fingers trying to make sure I got that right, and then
spot on.
I look at the some of the names in the team, which we'll get to in a moment, and I'm not so sure I'm going to be so successful. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Where's this Greek connection come from with yourself?
So I am ethnically Greek Cypriot. So my family from both sides of my parents are from Cyprus originally, and I have as a lot of Cypriots do, not all Cypriots, but a lot of Greek Cypriots have a strong tie with Greeks because we speak the same language. The culture is very similar. So yeah, that's kind of my in to Greek football, because, you know, there's a lot of Greek Cypriots who follow Greek clubs as well as their respective Cypriot teams from the Cypriot First Division. And you know, Premier League's very popular in Cyprus as well. And I first fell in love with football 12 years ago now, when Greece played Russia in Euro 2012 in Poland and Ukraine, and when Yorgos Karagounis, legendary captain, scored what was the winner. It completely got me hooked on football and Greek football as well. And from there I chose my team, my club team, that is Olympiakos, who recently won the UEFA Conference League, the first senior Greek team to win a major European trophy. And it's just carried on from there. You know, I started writing about Greek football 4 years ago, or nearly 5 years ago now, of a lockdown, and helped make a podcast with Hellas Football, who I've been also writing with for nearly 5 years. And yeah, it's opened a lot of doors, and it's been a really exciting journey, because Greek football is a niche, certainly in this country and in most countries too. And it's just been great to kind of speak to people about it and give people more of an insight into the game, because it's certainly an interesting one, Greece. It has a lot of, it has a reputation, Greek club football, certainly, you know, for the best and worst. But we at Hellas Football say it's the gift that keeps on giving, because no matter what happens, there are some amazing moments that happen that, you know, kind of epitomize the beautiful game. But then there's a lot of crazy things that happen as well. Absolutely ridiculous things that you would never see in like any credible European top 5 league, but it happens anywhere, and it's still hilarious. So yeah, that's my love for Greek football right there.
Excellent. Well, do you know what? I've made a note of your name, your contact details for Cyprus. When we finally get Cyprus for the for the first time in such a long time, is another side that England haven't played often. But that's for another day.
It is definitely because Cyprus. So I do follow Cyprus too, being the country where I'm from, and they're rubbish. They're so bad. But they have recently got a new manager in, so hopefully things change. But yeah, you never know with Cyprus and England. Maybe in the qualifiers one day.
Yeah, the draw's coming up on I think it's early December for the World Cup. Yes. We'll see. But it's Nations League we're talking. Currently, Greece top of this league, features England, Republic of Ireland, and Finland. What sort of, when that draw was made, what was your expectations for Greece in this?
Well, Greece had just come off the back of a really, really disappointing end to the Euro 2024 qualifiers. We finished third in our group, which wasn't unexpected because we did have Netherlands and France in our group. And we went through the playoffs because we got promoted from League C. And we got a playoff place regardless of what happened in the qualifying phase, and beat Kazakhstan quite comfortably 5-0 in the semi-finals. Got to the final where we played Georgia away from home, and it was disappointing. 0-0 after 120 minutes, went to penalties. We succumbed to the shootout, and Georgia we give them their most historical moment in their footballing history, and Greece goes over 10 years now without reaching a major tournament since 2014 at the Brazil World Cup when we reached the round of 16. And also, ironically, went out on penalties against Costa Rica and to have not reached the quarterfinals of that tournament. So going into this particular draw, the expectation for Greece is I think quite simply to finish top two, because that will, with England being England and kind of maybe not prioritizing the Nations League compared to other nations, it's definitely a priority for us to at least get second place. And then under the assumption that England get top of their World Cup qualifying group, which, generally does happen with England, we will then get another playoff place because we finished second. Yeah. And so, we obviously having already played Finland and Republic of Ireland at this point, and quite comfortably beating them in those two games, it's hopeful that if we just get those two more wins on those kind of reverse fixtures, then we can at least top or finish second, in the group, despite England being there as well.
What were the performances like against Ireland and Finland? I didn't see any of them.
Well, we've just changed managers, so a lot of people who follow English football remember Gus Poyet, former player at Chelsea.
Yes,
managed Sunderland, I believe, as well, and he made a lot of mistakes during our European Championship qualifiers and the playoff final against Georgia too, and because he didn't hit the expectation, which was to reach the Euros in Germany, he was shown the door. I mean, his contract was expiring anyway, but he wasn't really given a notice of kind of thank you for your services by the Greek Football Federation, and he just kind of departed. And in comes Ivan Jovanovic, who has a long history of playing and managing in Greece. Despite him being Serbian, he speaks Greek very, very well, much better than me, must be said. And so he took over, and he's a much more of a, it sounds weird to say, he's much more of a coach than just a manager. He's not just a man manager. He has his tactics. He likes to be solid at the back, kind of not play anything too fancy or attractive, but just kind of get the job done and have a hard-working team. And that's more or less what we saw in the first two games. He kind of started a more experienced team to what people expected. A lot of people who have previously kind of played for the national team in qualifiers and the Nations League. And during games, he would make those changes that would kind of energize the team with some younger, less experienced players, and it would make the difference. We got the win at home against the Finns. And then in Ireland, we were, particularly in the second half, we were hugely impressive with some individuals really shining, including Christos Solis, who is now at Club Brugge and is doing doing amazingly for them and for us too. Now that he's actually been given an opportunity to play for the national team, and Fotis Ioannidis, who's Panathinaikos' star striker, linked with Leicester City, Ipswich Town, and Southampton. So the three promoted sides who came up this season were all trying to sign him. Panathinaikos said, nope, we don't want anything more than 30 million euros. No one could cough it up. So he stayed, and he's been very good for us too. He scored multiple goals in those first two games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's move on to the squad, because I always like to sort of go, when I see a squad announced, go through who do I recognise, who sort of plies their trade over here in the Premier League that I don't know, listeners may be aware of. And it seems a predominantly Greek-based team, but there are three players there. This is where I kind of think, or I respect how much a football commentator puts into learning pronunciations of players. But there's the goalkeeper who plays for Newcastle. It's not number one there, but is it? I don't even want to try. Go on. The Odysseus Vlachimos.
So it's Odysseus Vlachodimos.
Yeah.
So I mean, in English it'd be Odysseus Vlachodimos.
Right.
And yeah, he not a starter at Newcastle. A lot of Greek fans that I've spoken to online are a bit disappointed about that, because he is a very, very good keeper. You know, only a few years ago he was the starter for Benfica and playing consistently in the Champions League. So he went to Forest, didn't work out. They signed about 4 or 5 goalkeepers in one season.
Yeah.
You know, that's Evangelos Marinakis for you. And yeah, at Newcastle, it was, well, the moment we saw that signing, we knew he wasn't going to be a starter unless they sold Nick Pope. And for whatever reason, you know, Eddie Howe decided to play Vlachodimos instead. But look, for now, he's the number one and he's still a very serviceable player between the sticks. Although his backups, Konstantinos Zolakis and Christos Mandas, are both starters for their clubs and are both looking really, really promising. So it will only be a matter of time before one of those two usurp him.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, Liverpool, their I think it's her left back, isn't it? Kostas Tiskamas.
Kostas Tsimikas. Yeah. Yes. He was at Olympiacos, youth player there, and came through, broke out a season in 2019-20 when when we knocked Arsenal out of the Europa League with a last-minute goal from Youssef El Arabi. And he then moves to Liverpool that kind of, well, not summer because of the COVID pandemic. I think the transfer window was sort of moved to October, September time. And yeah, he went for a big fee. Again, a similar problem with him at Liverpool. You know, he does get a bit of game time. He got a bit under Jurgen Klopp on and off, and certainly under Schlott, who seems to trust him as the deputy to Robertson. And that's kind of a gift and a curse, because you're playing for a massive club. You know, Liverpool are a huge club to be playing for as a Greek player, but he hasn't really got he's not first team starter, and that does tend to show at times when he's playing for Greece. Seems a little bit rusty in the first half hour and then really picks it up afterwards. But yeah, he's always been a serviceable starting left back for us, although Dimitris Giannoulis, again, his deputy at Augsburg, is the starter. So it's sort of, it puts keeps the pressure on him to at least perform for the national team, because if he stops performing for the national team, then he's not going to be the starter anymore.
Gotcha. I see. And then the other one, West Ham fans will be aware of, is it Dinos Mavropanos?
Yes. So his full, Dinos is a shortened first name to Konstantinos Mavropanos. So it would be a bit of a mouthful. Yeah. People remember him also at Arsenal. Yeah. He got labelled as a flop, even though he actually didn't do anything wrong. Played well against Man United one game, got injured, didn't get a chance under Mikel Arteta. And then he went to Germany with, I believe it was Stuttgart, and he did a really good job there. Twice Bundesliga team of the season at centre-back. And yeah, done okay at West Ham. He seems to be mostly a starter under Lopetegui. Not doing so well this season, West Ham, to start with. But yeah, he's again very, very good. He's our number one left centre back for the national team. So he's vitally important to the way we play and how we set us up defensively too.
I see. So they're the ones that I'm aware of. You've already mentioned the Panathinaikos striker, but is there anyone else who maybe you're keen on, I think could be an impact on in the game between the two sides?
Yeah, I mean, Mavropanos' new kind of centre-back partner, Dinos Kouliarakis, who's recently left Greek side Balk in Thessaloniki to join Wolfsburg. He's going to be quite important again to how we set up defensively. And in midfield, captain Tassos Bakasetas, who plays for Panathinaikos in Greece now, he started off kind of under previous coaches, a bit of a sort of a passenger in games, but then to be fair to him, Gus Poyet, and continuing with Ivan Jovanovic, he's been an important leader in the dressing room, and that's why he's stayed as the captain over multiple managers who have come through. Just having a look, the recent addition to the national team, Christos Zafires, who plays for Slavia Prague. He was he could have played for Norway, chose Greece, and he's been really, really impressive since he's come on. He might not start against England, but certainly as an impact sub, he'll be very, very important. And as I said, Zolis as well. Like I said, Club Brugge been really, really good for the Belgian team. Scored a couple of days ago in the Champions League as well, which will really up his stock. And Yannis Konstantelias at Balk, one of the kind of the big prospects for Greek football, attacking midfielder. He's not starting just yet, but he's kind of one of those ones earmarked to start soon, if not sooner rather than later. And I guess the last one I can think of is Yorgos Masouras, who is at Olympiakos, helped the team win the Conference League, as I mentioned previously. He was injured for the last international break, and we're a bit lighter at the right wing, but he'll come in and he's a bit of a workhorse up and down the pitch, very good defensively, very good offensively as well. Can miss a sitter now and again, but his effort is vital to how he plays for his club and country.
How do you feel the game at Wembley will go? What are your sort of estimations or predictions, be it? Can you see Greece getting a result, or what would be an ideal result to come away from?
I think it's hard because I think the expectation isn't that the expectation from a lot of Greek fans isn't that we're going to win, because England haven't lost at Wembley for a very, very long time, and so I hope that what we see is more or less what we've seen, the positives of what we saw in the first two friendlies, where we played our game and we kind of contained a lot of attacks, albeit that, the level steps up quite substantially when you play Ireland and Finland, and then you go to England, who, are one of the best teams in the world. So I think for me, maybe I'm tempering expectations, but I just want to see us kind of stand toe to toe with England, surprise them a bit, show them that we're not some pushover team, because a lot of the English media and a lot of fans have sort of ruled out kind of any of the teams that England are playing in these Nations League. I guess that kind of shows the priority that people put on the Nations League themselves. But Greece are the big test for England in this group, and hopefully we show them that. If not at Wembley, at least when we play England at the Athens Olympic Stadium in November, where we have a pretty good home record, and it will be a much more intense atmosphere for England to come into.
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned intense atmospheres. I've witnessed a Greek atmosphere. Are there many Greek fans coming over for the Wembley game? Are you aware of?
Yeah, there should be quite a few. I mean, like I said, I'm based in the UK, but I myself am even going to be there and sit in the away end, as I said to you before we started recording. So I'm really, really excited about that, to kind of be amongst the Greek national team fans and, be able to kind of support my team. Because every time Olympiakos have come to the UK and they've played, they played Arsenal in recent times, they played Aston Villa, which I couldn't make to, and West Ham in the Europa League last season. I've always had to sit in the away end because it's such a pain to try and get away seats for my team. But thankfully, Wembley were Wembley's website actually advertised the away tickets, so I was able to get some, and if there might still be some on sale, who knows? But yeah, there should be a good amount of Greeks for both, because there's a lot of Greeks in London, especially, and a lot of Greeks travelling over too to see the national team play against England. It would be a big occasion.
A lot of noise, and not a lot of colour. If my memory is correct.
Yes, I mean, it gets a bit more tribal when it comes to the Greek club game, particularly. You'll find quite a few fierce atmospheres when you go to a Greek side away from home in Europe. But the national team definitely still has its passionate supporters. But I think it's like the one time all the Greek fans come together and not absolutely despise each other for 2 weeks. And they'll be like, yeah, we support the same team. And then after that, the international break will end and everyone disperses back into their club's kind of tribal groups and everyone just hates on each other again. So it's a bit of a unique experience, kind of vaguely supporting, supporting a national team that I have friends who support rival clubs of mine. and we'll all be kind of supporting the same team. And then a week or so later, that's it. Like they're hating on my club again. I'm hating on theirs. You know, it's great.
It's exactly what football's like all across the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have it any other way.
No, you wouldn't, because I just find it hilarious. I think that's why I take it out of it most. You know, it's not a thing of, oh, I'm sad that, you know, we have to go hate each other again. It's like, oh yeah, it's actually quite funny that for 2 weeks we have to join together and pretend forget that we hate each other's respective club teams. Yeah. But yeah, it's good. And when Greece are good, it's really, really something to kind of enjoy it with everyone. But then when Greece do bad, it's like, well, you know, it's end of the world stuff. Yeah. But then that's maybe just the Greek kind of overreaction to things. But then, you know, when we lost to Georgia, it felt like it was awful. It's one of the worst feelings I've ever felt because we were so close after so long.
Yeah.
And we all kind of almost mourned for a couple of days because it was just like, oh God, I don't really want to talk about football for a little bit after that. But, you know, we move on and it's a new dawn for the national team, which hopefully leads to us reaching the World Cup in the US, Canada, and Mexico, because that's what the Greek Football Federation and Ivan Jovanovic have given as the expectation, and no exceptions to the rule. So hopefully we make it this time. And also I think it's unlikely to change now, but we should be a pot 2 team for our World Cup qualifiers, you know, depending on if results kind of in the future change that, which gives us an even bigger chance to hopefully reach the World Cup. We'll see.
We shall watch this space. We shall see as the Nations League continues on. Stephen, thank you very much for joining us and just giving us a brief outline as to the how you see the game going. Just briefly, tell us where can we read your musings and hear you on the podcast.
So generally, you can find my work on the Hellas Football websites. You can find us on social media as well, on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram and Facebook. The hashtag is @Hellas Footy. And for me personally, if you can actually spell my surname, my handle on X and Instagram is @Steve Kountourou, and that's spelt Kountourou. And I normally post my latest kind of previews of Olympiacos, speaking about other things, kind of engaging with Greek football fans and non-Greek football fans too. And if you want to find the podcast, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it's pretty much on any podcast platform that you can think of. So yeah, check it out. And if you like what we do, please give us a 5-star review to bump us up as well in the charts, because we love doing it. Like it's a lot of guys there who love Greek football, who all support loads of different teams and getting together to kind of do this thing that is Hellas football. So we really appreciate the support where we get it.
Know the feeling well. Stephen, thank you very much. Maybe we can speak when that away leg comes around.
Yes, absolutely. I'll be very excited to do so.
Thank you very much to Stephen there. Appreciate his time. 3 days after the Greece game, we face Finland. Now, usually I'd have a Finnish guest here. Frustratingly, I couldn't make it happen this time, but it is what it is. I have been in touch with an England fan who has living experience of Finland in Helsinki. So I'll touch on that in a moment. But let's just take a look at the stats on Finland. We've played them 12 times, won 10, drawn twice, and we are yet to lose from them. So much like Greece, we don't have a great deal of previous against Finland. Interestingly, of the 12 games we've played, 8 of them have been played in Helsinki, this being the 9th. And I mentioned that last-minute goal against Greece. Finland, well, they too have been on the receiving end in that manner from us before. June 1966, Jack Charlton scored the last in a 3-0 win. Now, of course, we met last month in the 2-0 win at Wembley, but the last time we met in Finland was back in 2000, a 0-0 draw in a World Cup qualifier. This was 4 days after Kevin Keegan had resigned as manager in the toilets of the old Wembley Stadium. So it was down to Howard Wilkinson as caretaker manager to oversee things. Now he selected Martin Keown as his captain. Dennis Wise featured, and there was a strike partnership of Manchester United's Andy Cole and Teddy Sheringham. But it was Arsenal's Ray Parlour who had the moment of the game. With 4 minutes to go, he picked the ball up in the centre of the field, moved forward with it, around one player, gets inside the box, unleashes a shot that hits the underside of the bar, bounced down. All the England players all around claimed goal. It had crossed the line. It bounced back up and into the arms of Antti Niemi in the Finnish goal. No VAR or goal line technology back then. French referee? Well, what do you know? He waved it away. No goal. Ray Parlour would never score for England. Now, for personal reasons, I'm not going to this game. Now, I knew this when the fixtures were announced. So despite there being a very small allocation, had I have applied, I think I would have been one of those on the borderline, either the elation of getting tickets or the frustration of just missing out. Probably would have had to have gone through the second sale. So it'll be me, ITV, Sam Matterface and Lee Dixon. Oh dear. Now, I've been in touch with Norwich City and England fan Luke King, who has given me some pointers on Helsinki for those that are going. And I know some are going either direct or many going on the ferry from Tallinn in Estonia, which sounds exciting actually. Finland, earlier in the year, for the 7th year running, was voted the happiest place in the world to live. This, according to the World Happiness Report. Go on, Google it. So this game is being played at the Helsinki Olympic Stadium. And I've got to be honest, when I saw this, my immediate thinking was, oh, come on, another country with an Olympic stadium that hasn't hosted the Olympics? Much like Cambodia? However, I was happy to be proved wrong. Helsinki actually hosted the 1952 Summer Olympics. It's not one of Great Britain's finest. 1 silver, 4 bronzes. So, as an Olympic stadium, it's one with an athletics track. And the stands are a fair distance from the pitch. England fans were allocated 1,642 tickets. And it appears to be a stadium with at about 36,000 capacity. Now, apparently it's about 1.5 miles from the city centre. If you're going to walk it, it's about 20 minutes. 15 minutes on the tram or a 10-minute taxi. It is not accessible by metro. And for England fans, or away fans in general, the entrance there is below the tall tower. If you take a look at the stadium, that appears to be quite the landmark. So you shouldn't really be missing that. But if you are going in and around Helsinki using public transport, generally you'll need an A or B travel card. Apparently they cost €9. They last 24 hours from purchase. Although if you are coming from the airport, that is in a C zone. So you might want to check that out. Apparently a single fare lasts 80 minutes and costs €2.95 and can be used for multiple journeys on the metro, the bus, the tram, train and the boat as well. So there's a fair few options for you to take. Once you're there, apparently the best bar for atmosphere and away fans is the Old Irish Pub. According to Luke, it's the biggest pub come club in Helsinki. It's got cheap beer there, free entry, live music and a DJ. Apparently it's open until 5 every night, 5 a.m. And I mentioned free entry because it's worth noting that many other places will apparently charge an entrance fee, and request for ID is quite common. If you're looking for other bars, apparently there is Bass Bar, which is a fantastic metal bar. So if you're into your heavy metal music, isn't there a Finnish band who was quite sort of heavy metal orientated? I'm sure there was one band. Plenty more places to eat and drink around Helsinki in the city centre. Apparently the Riff, One Pint Pub, all fairly central by all accounts. If you are looking for the local brew, a long drink is the national drink, and it is actually called long drink. By all accounts, it's gin mixed with a grapefruit soda or other flavours, cranberry or lime. Give it a go. If it's beer you're after, apparently it's Koff, Koff. And if you are going full-on local food, then reindeer is the way forward. But you get your chicken, beef, pork too. Plenty of fish as well. Now, if you really want to experience the traditional Finnish way of life, then the sauna is the real Finnish institution. 80 to 100 degrees at Hellas Sea Pool, and then there's fresh water to cool you off afterwards. I've seen people do this. You go into the sauna, all nice and hot, and then jump into cold water. Not for me. Not for me. Don't forget your Speedos if you go in there. And then if you want to go exploring, now there is an old fortress island that's about 15 minutes by boat from the harbour. Now, I don't know how to pronounce this. Suomelina? You'll have to Google that one. I've had a quick look. TripAdvisor, that comes up there. Apparently you can use the travel card or the ticket to get there and back that I mentioned earlier. Ice hockey is a big thing in Finland. Go and check them out. Fasa Chocolate Factory Tour. There is an all-you-can-eat chocolate factory tour. And this is where I'm thinking I really should be going. That's worth doing, apparently. All-you-can-eat chocolate. Goodie bag at the end. And then apparently the weather, apparently it can be a bit hit and miss. It can be +9 on a good day at this time of year. It can also be -4 at night time. So yeah, prepare yourself for both. It's still shorts weather, isn't it? England away, shorts. But if you are going, enjoy it. Stay safe. Pick us up a programme, will you? Now, let's leave it there. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much to Luke for passing on those details. Thanks for listening. Always appreciated. Safe journey if you are going to either game. Enjoy it. I will be back with you very soon, taking a look back on both games. I hope you can join me for it. So until then, take care of yourselves. Cheers.